SMTN.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin, Megami, Tensei Network Link 339. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me is a very wide-awake and not sleep-deprived Lucky Slime at all. Lucky, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Couldn't even fake it. Couldn't even fake it for the intro to be like, no, this is me 110% lying. There's no energy here at all. So, clearly you haven't gotten a wink of sleep since you were last on the podcast 9 years ago, but how are you doing?
I'm doing good, yeah. Very tired. Just woke up from a coma, yeah. Stayed up too long.
Now, like, normally when people wake up, they feel, like, refreshed. Is that happening at all? Is that possible? No, not really?
Not really. Might feel a bit refreshed later. That's how it usually works for me.
So, like, at this point, because I feel like I have, like, a bunch of different, like, friends who, like, have different levels of either, like, I don't sleep or I'm always sleeping during the day and stuff with it. Like, where do you feel you're at in terms of, like, oh, I get the most done or I'm the most productive from, like, this time to this time?
Ooh, I'd say I'm not pretty productive. I, like, wake up and sit on Twitter for, like, an hour, eat food, and then be even more lazy for another hour. And then actually do something for an hour and go back to being lazy.
I feel like we need to get you into streaming then. You sound like a perfect reaction streamer. You could just sit there and other people watch your, like, chair with you eating in the other room for, like, you could be making hundreds of dollars with this.
Hell yeah.
So, Slime, it's been a hot minute since you've been here. I think Atlas has released about 9 million games in the meantime. And we've been planning this so long that I think Persona 5X has gone from anticipated, skeptical, released, jealous that it's not out in English, to half of the English-speaking audience forgetting it existed because that's how mobile games work. But I'm glad you're here. We're going to talk about some Atlas games. Thankfully, I was checking at your trophy list for it. You made me feel a lot better, because even with how many games you play, you also still have not even barely touched Alert, so that makes me feel better as a fake Atlas fan who's still not played that game.
Yeah, I bought that, and I was like, I'm going to play this like a shitload. And then I, like, played it for like an hour or two, and then I kind of just stopped. I mean, it's a good game.
It's a shame, because, like... Yeah, it's fun. I just think terrible release timing.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely really bad release timing. But, so we've been playing a bunch of different stuff. Feel free to, like, mention anything and everything about, like, but, like, kind of what have you been playing recently, and what's kind of been stealing your time?
Pretty much Persona 5 The Phantom X. Been playing that daily. Doing all content in that game. Zenless Zone Zero that just came out a few days ago, and SMT5 Vengeance, which was probably the most recent game I've actually completed.
I was actually kind of surprised about how Hoyoverse was handling Zenless Zone Zero, because, like, we knew it was coming out in July, but, like, did it have a later release date? Because I feel like they bumped up the release date, and it was, like, out of nowhere. They were just like, hey, everybody, go play it. It's 4th of July. Goodbye.
I don't think so. I think they just said 2024. I don't think there was an exact release date, at least from memory. I can't remember one.
I knew it was July because they had been doing a lot of pre-register ads like crazy. Like, I get a lot of Zenless Zone Zero ads on Facebook and TikTok especially. I would see a lot of those ads for. But it was just so funny because, like, out of nowhere, I think I was recording the podcast at like last week's episode. It was like the day it dropped, and when I was waiting for the show to start, I was looking at Twitch because, like, my thing with Zenless has been this: like, I was there when they announced it, like literally a year ago, when they announced it like publicly. I was like, okay, like I like Hoyoverse games usually. Let's check it out. And it's just been one of those things where I'm like, what is this game? Like, I would see the gameplay, but it wouldn't really, like, it would be heavily edited or like not have any HUD and stuff with it, because it's like I feel like it's like Honkai Third Rail, but it's not. But also, it has a lot of mini games, and also there's a bunch of other things that's kind of like confused me with it. And it's been weird because like in my house, pretty much anything like gacha like or like Hoyoverse, like my wife will at least try, if not sink way too much time and money in. She has had no interest in Zenless, which is weird because like I think the style of it looks really really interesting, but like I feel like even after watching streams, like because like the day and the day after it came out, I would just watch people's streams for like 5 minutes, and they would all be doing different stuff. Some people would be on story cutscenes for like 5 or 10 minutes. Some people would be like playing Snake mini games in the arcade, and other people would be doing like very light 2 button action like combo like battle arena segments, and I'm like, what the fuck is this game? So like, please give me the like Zenless Zone Zero for Dummies summary if you can.
I mean, it's like honestly, it's like it's like a button mash type. Honestly, there's no real strategy to it. Like with the gameplay itself, you can just dodge, attack, press up these other 2 buttons, attack. Like there's only 2 buttons to really attack, and then you dodge. Also, I think the TV like segment of the game, I think they should have cut that down a bit. I think because you're in that segment for way too long. You're in there for like
What,
5 or 6.
what's the TV? The TV one?
Oh, it's like this roguelike, and you like go through like the
Oh
TV, and then you enter
yes.
the battle. I
Hmm.
think you're in that for way too long because you're in the battle for like 2 minutes, and then you're in that TV segment for like 8 minutes. It just feels like kind of drags on a bit. Drags on for a while.
And so like, by the way, watching people like sharing, watching people sharing gameplay clips of the combat in this has been so funny. People be like, "This is what I want in Devil May Cry. Like, this is peak action game combat." And I'm like, if you're like even remotely into like character action games, does just seeing videos like that just like hurt anyone else's soul, or is it just me? Because like, listen, I'm fine for like dumbed down like 1 button combo like games and stuff with it, but like just because it's flashy doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
like complex and deep.
I mean, yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's fine for a gacha game. I mean, most gacha games are like that. There's very few that actually have like strategy, but like, yeah. I mean,
Oh, for sure. And I mean, because at the end of the day, like whether you're playing it on console or PC or mobile, they're all meant to be something that you can do by just tapping big buttons on a screen.
yeah. I think Wuthering Waves is
And
probably the most recent example of one that actually has a bit more depth to the combat.
that one I'm surprised about. Yeah, Wuthering Waves. If I'm trying to think actually with it, do we have? I don't think we still have a console release date for that. That's just PC and mobile, right?
Yeah, they like teased it like in China at an event, like that it's like sort of in the works, but there's no like full confirmation of it yet.
I like to think that they're well. You can pre-register for it on console. Like there's a wish listing for
Uh,
it, so I imagine it's this year.
yeah,
But like it's I believe that coming out sooner than like the guys who are huffing paint and think that Genshin Impact is still coming to Switch at this point. Like the guys who are like the people who are holding out for Genshin to be on Switch. I'm like, listen, man, I need to know what gets them out of bed in the morning.
I mean at most I think they'll get the cloud version, and that's if
A hundred
that
percent.
even comes to Switch.
And yeah, that one I just find is like beyond like preposterous or funny with it. But so are you playing Zenless Zone Zero on PC, I assume?
Ah, yeah, I'm playing on PC. Yeah, I prefer to play these type of games on PC for the most part.
Well, I imagine it's got to be a lot easier too, of like,
Yeah.
especially if you have like a multi-screen setup of just like have something on in the background, like either grinding dailies or like going through like story content. But like, how have you been enjoying it so far?
It's been pretty good, yeah. I will say I've been grinding a bit too much, and I'm kind of getting a bit bored of the TV stuff, but it is good. It's enjoyable. The story's
And
relatively good.
and so like kind of compared just because like you and I have played most of, if not all of like the like past and especially like most recent like Hoyoverse games, like where would you kind of rank it compared to the others? Like obviously it doesn't really play very similarly to like Honkai or Genshin, but like in terms of like where do you think it's going to be at stickiness wise?
Ooh, uh, maybe in between Genshin, and Honkai Star Rail. Actually, I'll put Genshin, Honkai Impact third, Zenless Zone Zero, and then Honkai Star Rail.
Oh wow, I'm surprised Star Rail's so low.
Oh, I mean like the other, like so from lowest to highest.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, I was like, dang, I would have thought you liked Star Rail more. Okay, no, that makes sense
Yeah.
then. Okay, that definitely checks out a lot more. So, pulling this up here as well with it. Yeah, so like I will say you can definitely tell like when it had come out like on Twitch and stuff especially like one of the reasons I was kind of like wondering like hey, what was the deal with like Zenless Zone Zero's launch because it pretty much looked like they paid for everybody and their mother who is even remotely popular on Twitch to stream that game.
Yeah, it seems like that as well. It seems like a lot of like people get boosted viewers. There's like a Twitch extension you can get as well, and it like shows who has botted viewers and who doesn't.
Yeah,
And a
because
lot of the top ones
another
do.
it was really funny because like the big thing on Twitch for a while there was all the like Final Fantasy 14 streamers leading in and playing Dawn Trail because it was like I think they're still doing it too, but they were doing that thing where if you watched them play enough, you'd be able to like to earn like game time or vice versa, where people watching you could let you earn game time. So like that was a really big Twitch thing with it now
Yeah,
versus like now it's just everybody being like, all right, if you are you wanting to play this, watch me play this, and then click on the link so you play this and I always like wonder like how the like weird mobile gotcha like games like do their residual pay for like how they like pay streamers of like okay if like someone like clicks your link and downloads the game for free I'm like how do you get to like that level of like all right you're getting like 5 pennies from this like I always imagine like I can't imagine unless you're someone with like millions and millions of viewers like how profitable that can be for that because it's like how do you track that, you know?
yeah. I feel like it wouldn't be profitable. I feel like if I was like the viewer, I'd just go and search up the download link on Google or something rather than actually click the link. I feel like that'd be quicker.
Exactly. I mean, I always think of like those I always think of like those funny um I always think of like those like really funny like usually like, they're filmed in like South Africa or whatever like those like fake mobile game ads where they're like oh you downloaded the wrong link you have to do it from this video you can't just do it from the
Yeah,
store and I'm like no you're not no, who does that no in fact I'm more inclined of like when I click on an ad and it pops up the App Store I will close it than just to look at it myself I'm
yeah,
like no I don't want to I don't want to download from this.
yeah.
Well, I was kind of wanting to talk vengeance with you first, but I mean, if we're already starting the podcast in like cursed gotcha hell mobile game talk, we're already hilariously late to talk about P5X. So I mean, I might as well just throw you into the Persona 5 bus. For anyone out there who does not know or lives in an English-speaking country, what would you say is the best description for what is P5X?
Star Rail but Persona 5.
I bet, I bet, what is it? I was trying to think. I bet Atlas hates that description, and I bet the developers love that
Yeah.
description.
I mean, they even stole one of Star Rail's gamers and just put it in there and renamed it. So,
No, for sure. For freaking sure. Um, so I'm trying to see here. So this came out. What was the public launch? April, right?
yeah. I think it was April 20th or
So
something.
yeah, it was well because it was kind of like a split launch between China and because it's currently out what in China and Korea.
Yeah, China, Korea, and Taiwan. And then Korea and Taiwan is one update behind China.
Yeah, and then I think Japan's announced to be getting it fall, right?
Yeah, I think somewhere around there.
Yeah, So currently now, and I mean we can talk about this later as well. There's absolutely no plan for an official English version coming out,
Yeah.
and we can kind of get into that later with it. But so for you, where have you been playing it? How have you been playing it? And have you found the language barrier keeping you from enjoying it very much, if at all?
I've been playing it on PC for the most part, and I haven't really found the language barrier to be too bad. There is an English patch that's being worked on, so I guess if you want to enjoy it fully, you can download it and use that. I personally just use a screen like OCR to translate it because I'm worried about my account getting banned because you have to inject the game to use the patch, and I have no idea if that'll come back and bite me in the ass later if they decide to go after it.
Yeah,
But
that stuff is always weird, especially with Sega, because I remember I wanted to do that with PSO2 back in the day. Like you could fan mod the Vita version to
yeah,
play in English, but Sega would actually look for it and would ban people actively. So that's always like that thing of like, listen, I know it's not the best to play a game through Google Translate lens, but I mean, it's better to do that than just to get banned.
yeah, especially since I mean I've already spent a fair bit of money on Persona 5X already, so can't be losing that.
I mean, there's so many Phantom Thieves now. How could you not? I need the old lady Phantom Thief. I need MILF lady Phantom Thief. I need random schoolgirl Phantom Thief. Like they're all there.
Yeah,
Who doesn't listen? Who doesn't want Rico merchandise? I don't know. Like, dude, her merch is flying off the shelves. I bet over there.
I need my limited banner Joker character on.
I mean, I will say this because I have many thoughts on P5X just like design wise for it. I think some of the characters look like Timu knockoffs, but also now there are so many new ones that I would be like, why would you play as any of the original Phantom Thieves? Like they just stick out like a sore thumb now compared to
Yeah,
everyone else.
yeah, that's true. And
So,
well, back onto
mhm.
oh yeah, back onto the story of the game. It's pretty good, I guess, so far. At least from my scuffed English translation that I've been playing, I think it's pretty enjoyable.
Well, I mean, so like for what we know of the story, and like please correct me if I'm wrong, because like I've tried following this as much as I can without ever wanting to touch it at all. So for the most part, it is a story that is happening at the same time as Persona 5, but not with like a specific date.
Yeah,
So the Phantom Thieves are existing, but you're never crossing over with them. Like you all go to a different school. It's Kokatsu Academy, I think, right?
yeah, yeah.
As opposed to. So you're going to a completely different school, but still in Tokyo. So you're still using the same things. You're still going to the metaverse. Um, but outside of the fact that the Phantom Thieves exist in your world, like they're not doing like Phantom Thief like crossover missions together, right?
Yeah. That's not like fully confirmed, but like, yeah, it could also be. There is another theory. It's also like an alternate universe of the Persona 5 timeline, and that it's just following the same thing, but it's a completely different like universe. As to what happens.
Which like I don't know, like would one be better than the other? Like no, like my whole take on Mega 10 like timelines has always been like, listen, it's fucked no matter how you
Yeah,
think about
that's
it, so
true.
just pretend they're all canon.
Yeah. One look at that timeline just makes my brain, yeah.
So the entirety of Persona 5X happens during them all in a coma and sleeping during Persona 5 dancing. That's why I don't remember any of it happening.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like so where the story's at like kind of currently, like are they still getting pretty active story updates? Like has the story like done anything kind of interesting? Because like for the most part it's mostly just been introducing characters, introducing villains, and new locations, right?
Oh yeah. They're planning to add a new dungeon, like new palace, a new story arc every like major update. So there will be like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and then 2.0. So they'll have four smaller patches in between. So the third palace is supposed to drop in 10 days. So we'll get like a massive story update in like, yeah, 10 days from now.
And like comparing that to like a regular size palace from like Persona 5, would you say like size wise are they similar? Are they more fun to like repeat? Are there like randomized elements? Because obviously you're gonna have to just keep running and running and running these dungeons. Like, what do they kind of do in terms of like make it not feel stale, or is that kind of hard to avoid?
I think they're worse, at least stale wise. I mean, they're way bigger, but in the early game when you first start out, there's a lot of like level gates where it's like, oh, you got to reach level 26 to progress through this door, or level 30 to progress, and there's a lot of those in the second palace. So that one like drags on a while, and it's kind of annoying. So yeah, it's kind of hard to avoid.
And like, what would you say is like kind of the mixture between what you're doing in a palace versus like going to mementos?
They haven't really done much with Mementos so far. I feel like I've barely been there at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I would see. That's funny. I would have thought like mementos should just be like their never-ending Tartarus kind of tower of like, do this, run battles, it'll get harder, but very little, if any, story stuff changes there.
There's like sub bosses in there, but like they haven't really done much at all. I assume it'll play a bigger role later in the game, as it did in Persona 5, but for now it's kind of just, yeah, whatever.
How about how has the social elements been? Because like outside of cutscenes and like 2 mini games, I've seen very little, if any, social aspects.
I think it's pretty good. You get like 5 like hourglasses a day to do the social things, and you can use them on doing a job or doing a social link and stuff like that. And each social link has 20 levels as opposed to 10, so they do take a while to complete.
Okay. Like, are they like content locked at all, or if it's a character that's in there and you can social link them, there's nothing stopping you from just grinding them out to 20 if you really want, though?
Oh yeah, you can. Oh no, you have to like wait. Like it takes ages to max them out. Like it'll probably take like 1 to 2 months if you just focus on one of them.
All right. So like for you, how many hours do you think like you've put in so far?
Maybe 150 so far. 150, 200. I feel like I've put a lot of time into it so far.
And would you say, like, has a lot of it been you redoing the same content, or has it been more so you running through and still finding new things?
It's mainly just redoing the same content, dailies and stuff. I mean, when they add events, I do play more, or like new events, new updates. But at the moment, I'm just trying to get all the achievements as I do. So yeah, currently trying to catch all the fish.
They just only have in-game achievements, right?
Ah yeah, only in-game achievements. There's a lot of them. It's about 350.
All right, so who is your current like party you've been playing with? Because like the gameplay wise, it's just straight up Persona 5.
Yeah.
Like you have your 4 members, you're doing your attacks. Like who's in your party at the moment?
I'm using Makoto, Vino, the granny Phantom Thief, and Marian, the nurse Phantom Thief. Which is probably one of the most broken teams at the moment. So yeah.
Would you say your opinion of it has changed very much in the last like 3 months since it's been out? Of like, has there been any dips? Has it just kind of been continuous? Like, do you think they're doing a good job with it?
I think they're doing a good job. I think my opinion's gone up. They listen to the community. They like patch shit in within like a day or two of someone complaining about it. So yeah.
I will say I've been surprised about a couple of different aspects of this game. So obviously it's a Perfect World published game, like they do a lot of different like gacha games over there, but it's developed by Black Wings. But what's interesting is like I was shocked at how long they let this game go for development.
Yeah, it's been ages since.
Because like, do you remember that teaser trailer? Like what, in 2020?
Yeah, Codename X. And everyone was dissecting it, and we saw a wires drop like out of the corner. Like there's one frame where you just see the store.
And it's just so funny because it's like, especially with a game like this, because like I think games like this are more inclined to get a bad rap in terms of just being asset flips. Clearly, there's a lot of reused assets from Persona 5, like that they get obviously through like Sega and Atlas, but there is a lot of like new stuff. Like there's a lot of things that they put into it in terms of like new characters. There's easily, I will say, I was shocked at how much new music is in there. Like, there is way more music than I would have ever expected them to put into this thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of new songs. A lot of them are bangers as well. So, yeah.
The fact that they made if anyone hasn't seen the opening animation for it, like if anyone has not seen this opening like animation song, it's like it hurts me that this is just for a game that in my gut I'm fully in doubt that we will ever see in English. And if we do, it'll be 5 years too late, and it'll die after like 9 months because that's how most English translated JRPG gacha games go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been pretty interesting. Like, do we know anything about how player numbers have been? Because I know there was a lot of interest over the betas, and actually, yeah, that was another thing I was going to say is shout out to them for actually doing a good job with the betas of like, because what we had the first beta maybe over a year and a half ago, right?
I think it was a year and a month. I think it was on the 28th of March last year.
And there were really noticeable differences of that beta. It was also like they did the beta on phones as well as PC, which helped a lot in terms of people kind of getting their hands on it, of like doing a really good job listening to that feedback, getting it in people's hands, even with it being such a kind of a limited launch as it is right now for it. Like, where do you kind of feel like the player numbers have been in terms of like, obviously, I think from the Western side of things, we already have a lot of new games coming out in general that, like, I think for people who aren't playing it in the West and don't want to, like, either be playing it on their phone side-loaded or on their PC, I think it's easy to kind of forget that P5X is still a thing that's happening, but, like, where do you feel like it's, like, daily players are at? Like, does it feel like it still is a pretty active community?
I think it's pretty active, at least in China. Like, in China, it's really, really active. Like, I think it's top 15 gacha games on the top charts on Bilibili.
I'm trying to remember what like number one would be.
Yeah, I think it's like at the moment it's Zenless, I think.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah. Typically it's like
That'll.
Genshin. Korea's kind of dead. I really don't think they should have split Korea and Taiwan. I really think they should have been one server.
That is a weird one. I wonder what the logic behind that would be of like why not have them just be the same thing.
Yeah. Because typically gacha games don't have like a separate Korea server because the population in that country is not that big, and like those games, Korea servers typically die out fast because population's not that big. Players just like there's more players leaving than there are joining the game. So yeah,
That's very very weird. But for you though, because I've kind of talked about this before, and I think there's a lot of different aspects to it. Being realistic, especially where we are right now in the like Western world of like localizing these kind of mobile games and gacha games, what do you think the future holds for P5X in terms of getting a release worldwide?
I think it'll happen. Like not too long ago on Perfect World, they were looking for like English like localizers. There's like an article that they posted not that long ago. So I think maybe behind the scenes they are starting to work on it, but I really think the English version is going to be like a year behind, or it'll either be a year behind, or they'll rush the updates out way too quick, and it'll just be too much. So I don't know, it's hard to kind of tell.
Well, like the other thing I'm kind of worried about with it is like this of if you're Sega, why would you ever give this game to another company to publish in the West? You know,
Yeah,
because right now I think it is Perfect World who's publishing it in Japan, right? I don't think it is Sega JP.
yeah,
But Perfect Worlds, I feel like in the West have kind of more so died down. Of if they were going to do it, I feel like that's something you would have announced or had that conversation going because, yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of these games kind of live or die based on their worldwide launch. Like, I think it's very few and far between that we've seen games release late. And especially in Sega's case, like, look at something like PSO2. PSO2, I am so glad finally did come out in English, but, like, the only people who are playing that are the diest of diehards, and even that, like, outside of the random, like, collab that they get, I'd say that game is pretty dead, and that's a really expensive game that they even tried rebooting. Like, everyone forgets about New Genesis, but like that was basically PSO3.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real reason to play. Just switch to the English version if you're already playing the JP in it, because there's an English like patch that's like constantly being updated for PC. So it's like
Hmm.
most
Yeah,
people
and those
would,
guys have been working on it for like over a decade now.
yeah,
So, other tricky parts that I think go into this of if you localize this and it's outside of Sega, A, I don't think they would let it happen. But then B, I think if it doesn't happen internally through Sega and Atlas, and like, let's say that this game comes out in the West, but it's still all Japanese or Chinese voices. I think that's going to be an immediate big turnoff to a lot of people who are going to nope out of it just because they want to play it with the voice actors they know from Persona 5.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I feel like most people
'Cause
looking at this game are Persona fans. Like, I feel like the general gacha community don't give a shit about this. Like,
no, yeah, and that's also been what's interesting is like a lot of people, for as much as the internet likes to dunk on Persona 5 of like being this like beaten to death horse, like you look at anyone like a great example is like look at all the videos that like when like Faz is putting videos on their YouTube of just being like here's every new animation for this one character, like all the comments are people just like are just Persona 5 fans being like I just want more, I want more, I want to play, I want to be in this world, I want to eat this up because like there are people, they exist, I know they exist, I'm not one of them, there are people out there who if they could just play more Persona 5 for the rest of their lives that they would be happy.
yeah, for real. Yeah,
And it's just one of those things that it's like, hey, this game is for those people. And you know who likes spending a lot of money? Persona 5 fans. There's a lot of fucking merchandise for Persona
yeah.
5. So like, and I mean like you mentioned as well, like how much money do you think you spent in the last 3 months playing this game?
Like $500.
Exactly. And this isn't like this is the only game you play.
Yeah,
So it's like it's one of those things that's like obviously how people spend their money, everybody's going to be different. For every lucky slime out there's probably 100 Spencers who listen, I don't normally buy into gacha games, but like when there's a game I'm into, oh yeah, you better believe I'm going to buy all the garbage.
yeah,
Like when I get into something, I will buy anything and everything in between because I'm like, listen, I'm already here. I might as well just sink into the depths of depravity. Other things that make me like not nervous but kind of wonder about like how the marketing and everything will be done of this game if let's say Perfect Worlds does release this in the West. I think you look at something like Tower of Fantasy. Tower of Fantasy continues to try in the West, and I just think everybody sees it for what it is and just doesn't care.
yeah.
And I wonder how much luck they've had because like so I'm on their site right now. Like off the top of your head, what games do you think Perfect World has released in English? If you can think of any that aren't
I think
Tower
it
of
was.
Fantasy.
I think that one. I don't know if that One Punch Man one came out in English or not, but I don't know they were shutting that game down. But I
Oh
don't
my
know.
god, I forgot about the One Punch Man game. I was like, I remember I would get ads for that because like we live in a weird world where like when you get the mobile like anime gacha games where like you have to ask like, okay, is this really a Naruto game or is this just Clash of Ninja Revolution Storm Superior Fighters
Yeah.
and just happens to be using all of the assets from every Naruto game known to man? Like, do you remember the solo leveling game that came out a while ago?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, every ad I saw for that, I was like, oh, this is like a knockoff, right? There's no way this is actually solo leveling. Because I would be getting ads for that around the same time it came out was this JJK game that had launched on PC and phones. And it was literally an asset flip of that awful Bandai Arena Fighter from like 2 months before.
Yeah, oh my god, that game. Yeah.
So it was like, it's one of those things that's like, especially if you're based on like a licensed property, like man, you gotta be careful because like a
Yeah.
lot of it is like how long, like who's going to pay attention, who's going to care, um, where is it at is important, how is kind of like marketed. Like I think trying to think of like a good example. Let's use Final Fantasy Ever Crisis as a good example. Like that's the last gacha game I played a lot of. Like, did you ever play much of Ever Crisis?
Not really too much. I played it for like a few days and then kind of stopped. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll wait
But do you
until
remember what was the sentiment for most people when it came to showing that game and also playing that game? Like, what was the big thing everyone kept saying about it?
I honestly forgot.
They want to wait till the story's done, and they
Oh
want to play it on
yeah,
PC and
yeah.
consoles. No one wanted to play that on phones. Like, some people wanted to play that on phones, but it was one of those things that's like, hey, this is a great way to show off more story for Final Fantasy VII. The gameplay is great because, spoilers, it's just the gameplay of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it looks just as good. So it's like, yeah, like, why don't you just wait till that game's done, package it in a like 60 like 40 $60 title, and then just sell it to us on consoles and PC. But the problem is, even because, like, remember, they rushed out a PC port of that pretty fast. There was no planned PC port, but like 2 months after the phone version came out, they had already seen such dwindling numbers. They're like, all right, yeah, we gotta launch this. Because, like, they launched it like 2 weeks into December or something, and I was like, no one planned for it. Like, no
Yeah.
one, no one does a release that fast unless you're in, oh shit, we need to make money mode.
Yeah.
And so, like, my worry now is, like, they've slowed down the story updates a lot. They're doing very, very few kind of new updates for Ever Crisis. Like, and Square is a great example of, like, a really huge, big company. But, like, when it comes to them doing stuff on mobile, it's like, just because you're really, like you know what you're doing for console or PC RPGs or even, like, MMOs, you can make a really good mobile game, but if it's not making you money and you're just still stuck supporting it, it's like a giant money pit.
Yeah. I feel like they
And
might finish it or hold out. I mean that they held out for that near game, and then they finished the story and just shut that game
I
down.
was
So,
I was shocked. Well, and they did the same thing. Remember with Kingdom Hearts, they did the same thing of like
yeah,
announce it was ending, but then announce that you could like finish the story and download the like little movie player of it all and stuff for it. So it's like they're good at seeing it through when it's launched, but I think in terms of like executing on what people want and their expectations, like honestly. If you asked a diehard Final Fantasy fan, how many of them do you think actually played the PUBG knockoff First Soldier?
not many. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know it shut down until a month after it did, because no one talked about it.
Let me tell you, as one of the 5 people who played that game, when I saw, oh no, I'm forgetting his name now. But when the dude from First Soldier was in Rebirth, I was like, oh, I know that guy. I know that guy. Now I have to remember his name because it's been 9 million years. Let's see here. The First Soldier name. Why am I forgetting his name? It's the blonde dude. It is. Oh my god, where did he go? It's the blonde dude in the robe. I cannot believe my brain is not remembering this. I can't believe I'm just typing who's the blonde guy in robes for Final Fantasy. This is really gonna break my brain. No, not Jack Garland. Glenn Lodbrock. When Glenn popped up, I was like, holy shit, it's the dude from the fucking mobile game. And I bet, so one of the really funny things to do, by the way, is this, of even if, like, you knew who he was or you didn't, you can always do Google ad search to, like, see how, like, not Google ad search, Google, search trends. And you can see when did people start looking things up. The search for Glenn Lodbrock basically, septupled in February when Rebirth came out because everyone was like, who the fuck is this dude? Listen, if you don't understand the deep, complex layers of Glenn Lodbrock, I don't know what to do for you. You're a lost cause at this point. Going back to P5X, though, I'll say this. If this game doesn't have an announced English release planned by this time next year, it's DOA.
Yeah, for real.
Um,
One of those China only
now,
games from the eternity.
Now, another thing, though, that could be highly successful, but again would be a lot more expensive. I think if they launched an English version of this game on consoles, I think that would do huge numbers. Especially like you look at how well Honkai has done on PlayStation. Like Star Rail, I remember when Star Rail like came out, I was like, okay, like, do I want an RPG gotcha game on a console that I'm already flooded with great RPGs that I don't have to pay extra money for? And like obviously there's a lot of different aspects that go into it, from like the story, the characters, like how the like leveling and everything is set up. Like Honkai is one of those games, like I always say this a lot with Genshin, but like doubly so for like Honkai Star Rail. Like if I had no money and had no games and no backlog, like my entire backlog, my entire like video game collection burned down, but I still had a PS5, I would probably just play Star Rail.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that game's too good.
Cause, well, and it's like it works so well no matter where you play it. It looks fantastic. Um, they keep doing really, really good improvements, not only to like the character, but also like all the different like gameplay mechanics and stuff that they've been introducing always. And I mean, even if you love or hate like MiHoYoverse games, you cannot knock them for doing updates. Like they do updates better than any other fucking company. Like they probably have at least the size of a game budget for every year of updates they do. Because like the amount of times, like especially the way they do it with multiple of their games, I'll be especially curious now that like Zenless is out to see how they juggle 3. But like I was always impressed when you would see major big updates for Honkai Star Rail and Genshin like back to back, and it'd be like, Jesus, dude, like you're like like you're stealing your own attention away. Like they would be doing these major big updates back to back with each other. It's like, how do you know which one to pick now?
Yeah, and there's that Animal Crossing MiHoYo game that got leaked not too long ago.
Oh fuck, I forgot about that.
It's also coming, so yeah, it'll be another game. I feel like that they're just doing a monopoly. They're trying to make a game and a gacha game for every genre.
And I mean, so far since Genshin, I don't think they've had any. I don't think they've had any misses, have they?
Not really, no. The revenue just seems to go higher and higher and higher every month. So
It's free.
maybe
It's free money. It's just free money for them. Just
yeah.
prints free gotcha money.
I really
I
do
will
wish
say
they'd
though,
do like an actual console game at some point, like Shift Up did for Stellar Blade, like an actual console game, like $60 one would be
I that's I agree. I think Shift Up is a weird example, though, of they are big, but they were big for, like, one game. They're big
good.
for Nikkei and not really much else. Like, yeah, they have other games and stuff with it, but I think if it wasn't for the fact that originally they announced Stellar Blade, or whatever the project name was when it was first teased, like, I think back when it was announced as, like, an Xbox game, I think the scope and scale of Stellar Blade was probably pretty small, versus now when Sony picked it up. I think the fact that Sony picked it up is a big factor that went into why Stellar Blade is as big of a game as possible, because it had so much of that backing from Sony itself.
That is true, yeah.
But I mean, like, you look at the success that it's had of them being like, hey, we want to do sequels, we want to do more games, we want to, like, they have other console games playing now. I think having that one big push does really help, because you'll notice they still have more plans for their free-to-play games, but, like, they've already announced they have other console games in development now, like, full-priced console games planned, which that makes me really excited.
Yeah.
Also, Shift Up, if you ever want an idea for some really, really dumb, easy money, find a way to put Path of the Goddess, Goddess of Victory on PS5 with the most intense DualSense support possible. You'll make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Did you see, by the way, the crossover that they're doing for Dave the Diver?
Oh, yeah, I saw that, yeah. The minigame looks cool as, yeah.
It it does. I'm like, that's how you know you have some fuck you money, when you can put that much effort into like a collab minigame that you know is never coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to like see where that team goes. Especially, I still haven't gotten a chance to pick up Stellar Blade, but that's kind of one of those things that we've just had so many games this year that I'm like, I'm just now kind of getting caught up. Like once I finish Vengeance, I'll sort of be there. But I mean, there could be no more games coming out the rest of the year, and I would still be fine picking up like the scraps of like Unicorn, Stellar Blade. I still haven't even touched Yakuza 8.
Neither have I.
Like
It's like my most anticipated game, and I haven't even played it yet.
Well, I'm two behind. I didn't even pick up The Man Who Erased His Name.
That game was surprisingly
So
good. I did it in like a day. The story for that. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was definitely Sega pulling a ground zeros.
Yeah.
I think if it wasn't for the fact that it was digital only in the West, I think it actually would have done better. But I think the fact that it was as short as it was, and it was clearly rushed out, also, which is weird. Of like the man who erased it. So because you haven't played 8, the thing you don't know about this, like it's been changed now. They finished Yakuza 8 before they finished The Man Who Erased His Name, but they released that first. So that actually launched buggier than when Yakuza 8 came out, which was a way bigger game, which is very, very weird. But kind of wrapping up with like P5X, at least for it, like I think there is a way for that game to come out and be successful worldwide, especially in the West. I think it's going to take a lot of money. I think, though, you're leaving a lot of money on the table if you don't want to put it also on consoles. That also, I mean,
I think
kind of going back
to work. I mean, there's already full controller support for everything already in the game, so I mean, like they've already got that there. So.
I think another thing though is I think this actually could help with like, you know what? I'm sure Xbox lost a lot of money, but they gained a lot of goodwill for when they announced PSO2. If Xbox had any sort of like, if they wanted any kind of a win in that department, if they wanted to be like the first place to play P5X on consoles and on PC early, I feel like that actually would be a pretty good win for them if they wanted to get like some easy like localization bucks.
Yeah.
I think people would be pissed, like way more than PSO. Like PSO doesn't really have console loyalty anymore because guess what? All the people who had console loyalty for PSO were all playing on the fucking Dreamcast. So no one had like PSO loyalty to like PS4 and Vita. But I feel like Xbox is the only company I could see who would be willing to give Sega money to help get it out quicker and on consoles and PC in the West. Because I think, like, Sega, as much... Which is always so weird. Like, you would think, like, with Sega's big hard-on for, like, super games, that they would be wanting to eat this up. I think, again, another reason why they're kind of been slow with it is, like, well, they don't own the full rights to P5X. They own the rights to P5. Yeah. They have to share all the rights in the, like, capital with Perfect World. So, if Perfect World doesn't do it themselves, Sega then has to basically localize it for them and then give Perfect World their slice of the cut of it. So it's like it gets a lot messier that way because it's not an internally developed game.
Yeah, the game is also the game's still in open beta in China, so I don't know if they're waiting for that to finish or not to do anything with it.
I mean, do we really think of it like, is it open beta in the sense of like, do we really think anything is going to be that drastically different from that to like 1.0?
Not really, I don't think. Nah.
It's like, do you remember the day when Fortnite finally decided to drop the beta tag? And it was like, holy shit, Fortnite's out of beta. What's different? Oh, nothing? All right. The only reason I ever remember that day was because I was the one cheapskate who was holding out on Save the World. I was like, well, they said it'll be free when the game's out of beta, so I'll just wait and not buy Save the World. And then when they dropped the beta, they're like, no, yeah, you'll have to buy Save the World. We're never going to give it to you for free. I was like,
and
I was only mad because I wanted the trophies.
They even removed the V-Bucks if you buy it now, I think, as well. It's like, there's no real incentive if you just play BR, I guess.
It's just the trophies. You only buy Save the World if you want the trophies.
I mean, let's be real, that's what I did, so...
I mean, it's not a bad game. I've messed around with Save the World. It's just, it's not the reason you play Fortnite. Any last kind of thoughts or anything you want to bring up about P5X before we move on?
Not really, no. I think I've kind of said everything I need to about the game so far.
Okay, sorry. I lied. One last thing I want to say. Because we did talk about Honkai and we did talk about P5X, but I do kind of want to compare them. Of like, What is something that you think P5X could improve upon from Star Rail, and what's something that you think Star Rail could take from Honkai? Sorry, that Star Rail could take from Persona that it hasn't already.
Uh, I think they could remove the level gates because that is stupid, especially if you're just starting the game. And less
From P5S.
yeah. Oh, so take the POX, just remove the level gates. They don't have that crap in Star Rail, so yeah, just remove that, and it'll be good, I guess. And then for Star Rail to take from P5X, absolutely nothing, unless unless they want to do a collab like a P5X Honkai Star Rail collab, I guess that'd be cool.
I mean, we already have that one song from Lin, so I'm like, why not? Just do the Persona collab. We already know you love Persona. Just do it already. I actually hope that P5X does collabs, because, like, if there's one thing Sega is really good at doing is fucking really weird collabs.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, Star Rail doing a collab with Persona 5 would make perfect sense. But also, like, Hoyo's kind of weird of, like, they don't really do collabs very much anymore. Like, I'm still trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
Why Aloy was added to Genshin. Like, it had to just be Sony paid them.
I would
assume. Like,
it's probably a deal for the PS5 version, I would assume. Because I think it came out around
I really hope, by the way, that, like, someone out there is still trying to get, like, a Max Constellation Aloy. They're just like, damn it. I just can't, because I don't think there's any way to get multiple Aloy. Is there still?
Nah, there will be. When the PS6 comes out, you'll have to buy that and download Genshin on.
It was gonna be for the Lego. Yeah, they'll add Lego. They'll add Lego Aloy into Genshin later this year. Yeah. That'll be the next collab character. Oh my god. But yeah, speaking of games that suck your life away, but not your wallet as much, both of us have been playing a lot of SMT5 Vengeance. You have been playing way more than me. You've got a guide for it up. I forget. Where's the best way to find your guide outside of just searching Vengeance Guide?
Just go to powerpicks.com, and it'll be like one of the first guides on the homepage somewhere.
All right. And I will link that in the show notes as well for people to check out. But you got Vengeance. You got it early for your guide coverage for it. I'm very curious to talk about what you think this is, because I will say this. It's a more difficult platinum than I would have thought, but it looks like I will enjoy getting it way more than Nocturne. Nocturne was not a fun platinum to get. This one at least looks doable.
Yeah, this one's a lot more fun. I mean, it still requires 7 playthroughs, because they did it so you can't actually save scum anything, because in SMT5 originally you'd have certain demons locked in the final area depending on which choice you choose, and since you have to get a full 100% compendium on the same save file, you technically have to do all the endings on New Game Plus over and over and over again.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So it even counts the exclusive compendium ones of you have to be running New Game Plus after you got this demon versus that demon in that one.
So you gotta do
interesting.
You gotta 6 New Game Plus playthroughs for that.
I mean though, especially when you're running New Game Plus in SMT5, a full playthrough of that game, you could pretty much knock out a whole playthrough of that game in less than 5 hours if you're running it on New Game Plus and skipping every cutscene.
It takes 2 hours. And even now with the Demon Haunt, and you can give stats to the Nahabino and stuff, every time you sit on the chair as you get to a story point, you'll become more and more and more powerful throughout the game, so that it would just go even faster in New Game Plus.
Yeah, my biggest fear with this one outside of the compendium was actually going to be the Godhood difficulty. I was like, please don't lock that behind a trophy. I was like, don't make me have to do that, please.
I thought it was going to be really, really hard, but the funny thing is it's not even an actual difficulty. You know how you have the newborn and reborn modes? It's literally just that. You can choose the Godborn mode and then just put it on the easiest difficulty and you'll still get the trophy.
The wildest thing I will say that I can't imagine was on purpose, or if it is, I don't understand why. When people were sharing it around of if you'd be doing New Game Plus Godborn, everyone's level 150. I cannot believe the guest characters are level gated in the story. That's
Yeah.
like so fucking wild to me. Be like, hey, I'm gonna need you to hold this baby's hand real quick as you're fighting a level 150 level demon boss, and like you've got little Atsuda here at level 6 doing his best.
I kind of wish they did scale it higher than 150. Like they'd start at 150 and they'd like reach like 300 by the end of the playthrough. But
That's a good point. Like honestly, I could have seen them at least doing like 200 or something. Like I wonder if they'd have any interest in like doing a patch or something, because it's like I feel like the jump from 99 to 150, I was ready for it to feel a lot more big than it did. And then like by the time like I've looked at footage and stuff with it, I'm like, yeah, I feel like honestly they probably could have just done more.
yeah,
What's another one with it? So did you first play on PS5 or did you play on PS4 first?
I played on our PS4 first, yeah.
So is there any trophy crossover, save data, transfer, any shenanigans? I've noticed probably no, but I have also not picked up the PS4 version
Yeah,
yet.
there is. It's like it's a full, like it'll fully auto pop the trophies, unlike
Oh,
reload.
really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so because there's no, at least when I was playing it, does it just like auto detect if there's a PS4 save, or like how does the transfer work? Because there's not like a thing in the menu.
There's like a save convert button on the bottom. Once you have like a PS4 save, it'll pop up. Like it like
Oh.
it'll like read your SSD for the save, and if it's there, you can do it.
Okay, that's interesting, especially because like, have you played the Switch version of Vengeance yet?
I haven't. No, I don't really want to go back to
So
the Switch version after playing
it
vanilla.
it doesn't transfer your save like in a traditional way because like there's no save transfer, but it does read it for the save bonuses.
Uh,
You don't get the bonuses till you start the playthrough. So like when I was picking it up on Switch, I was like, okay, where's the like save data bonus section for it? And it's like, no. It's only when you start a new game, it will then read your save to see what demons come over. It's very weird.
I assume you could just break the game by that by just taking a level 99.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like pretty much if you want this game to be a cakewalk on your first playthrough, just play it on Switch with a clear save file of like, because not only because they actually kind of undersold it. They were like, you'll get some items and you'll be able to transfer 3 demons. That already would have broken the game. Because you can just have whatever demon you want. It could be like a level 99 Shiva or whatever. So along with that, every ending gives you that demon because I remember you would beat the game and you would get exclusive demons.
Yeah.
So instead of getting those demons, if you beat the game in vanilla SMT5, each ending that you would unlock would give you that demon's essence. So then you could just get like Satan's essence and like have his like final move and affinities and stuff for your Nahabino. So it's like you literally could just steamroll Vengeance if you
Yeah.
played it first on Switch for it. Like it's really funny. Of like at that point, like why not just have like a save transfer?
Yeah.
But let's see here with it. I'm pulling up the trophy list as well to kind of go through. Was there any trophies that kind of surprised you about it? I was just generally kind of surprised of like it's very light on story trophies, but it has a good balance, I would say, of like gameplay ones that you'll get naturally without feeling overly hard to get.
Yeah. I didn't expect them to do like it makes you do almost everything. I kind of expected it to be more like Royals, I feel like, considering it's a re-release.
Oh no.
But,
I mean, I feel like at least when it comes to making a trophy list for Persona in a post P5R world, like you look at the trophy list for something like P5R and then compared to P3R, they seem very similar versus like
yeah.
looking at what's needed for I think this trophy list actually reminds me a lot more of the Platinum for Soul Hackers,
Oh yeah.
where it's like you're doing everything, but you're not like having to like you're not having an incredibly bad time while doing it.
Yeah. It's fun. So yeah, it's fun to go. I mean, it's a fun plat.
I will say, one that took me way longer than I thought to get was the triggering 5 battles back to back to back.
Oh yeah, dude, that. Oh my god. that took ages.
The amount of times I was like, because I forget the name of the skill. It's like an R word for it, but like the amount of times I would be like, okay, here's 6 demons. I'm going to get all of their attention, and they're all going to be coming towards me, and you would be one battle short.
Yeah.
And be like, what is wrong? Like, because that first section where you, like, kind of go for the treasure chest, and the slime is there, like, you would think that's where that trophy should pop. There's 6 slimes, they're all going to fight you, they're all going to be low-leveled, like, oh, here's where I get this trophy. And, like, I had to scum like some weird section in like the first level of like Dot to like finally get it, because it was like you need a lot of space, because you can't just have, because at first like the consecutive battles I kind of thought were like SMT originally. I thought they were all random. I thought it was like sometimes you'll have multiple enemies fight you, or if there's one right next to you, it would make sense.
Yeah.
And then eventually realizing, no, they have to be next to you, they have to be alerted to you, and they have to be chasing after you. So like if you alerted like 7 enemies in front of each other, if they're all running away from you, none of them are going to fight you. So it'd be like you'd have to almost like cattle corral them into trying to rush you, and then pray none of them ran away.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, because I ended up going for the trophy right at the end, because it was like one of the last trophies I had to get, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm too OP, I can't get these battles back to back to back, because I thought the same thing as you, but then yeah, I realized you had to be like just right next to the demons.
It's very weird. And I mean, if that's like my biggest complaint with it, like it's fine. It's just one of those funny ones of like sometimes there are trophies, you see them and you just go like, oh, I should get this really, really quickly. Like, I remember giving, like 20 gifts to demons. I saw that one. I was like, oh, I should get this quick, because I was getting gifts, like, back to back to back to back to back. I haven't had a gift in, like, 15 hours. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So, like, I'm sure I'll get it eventually. It's just one of those funny things of just like, Jesus Christ, man, this one just, like, stopped like a complete, like, stone in the wall.
Yeah.
But from your time playing Vanilla to Vengeance, overall, trophy list aside, like how did you enjoy your time with the game?
I honestly enjoyed it a lot more. I feel like the performance on the Switch really like weighed down my like enjoyment of the game. Because some of those areas are just like ridiculous. Like you have too many demons on the screen and that game's lagging.
Yeah, like I remember that first open area, like right before you get to Dot. No, sorry, not into Dot. Like, when you're in Dot for the first time, when you're going to the Diet Building, there's that really large field where there's a lot of, like, different demons running around, chasing after you, all in, like, clumps by themselves. And I remember on the Switch, like, how much the frame rate would get chunky, and I'm like, bro, you're the one summoning this many enemies in. Cool it down. Like, you don't need 20 enemies in this big section right now. Chill.
Yeah, but that aside, I enjoyed the Vengeance route a lot more. I think they did. A lot of people say that like a lot of people have different opinions. A lot of people say it like picks up, drops down, picks up again. But overall, I thought it was relatively good throughout the entirety of the Vengeance route.
I feel like a lot of it's going to change by the time I finally beat it. Right now, I'm finally past the halfway point, and I'm still finding myself. Like, I haven't had any moments of being like, okay, I don't like that change. Like, all the changes I've liked so far, there are just little weird things of like, oh, that's really different. Oh, okay, yeah, that's exactly the same. Wow, that's really different. Oh, okay, that's still exactly the same. Okay, all right. Like, it's really funny where they chose to make things different, because, like, I don't know if at the end of the day if it was just a cost-cutting measure or what, but I'm like, I feel like you could have just made these completely different areas and completely different paths and made it feel a lot more kind of different outside of the features that are there. Like when you had to go back to do your other like runs on the Canon of Creation and stuff, were there features or things that you were just like, I don't know why this isn't in here from both versions?
Not really. I feel like the quality of life improvements were like good enough, but like I feel like if you're not going for trophies, just avoid that route entirely. So,
really,
yeah.
How come?
I don't know. I just feel like the Vengeance route's a lot better, like a lot more enjoyable, especially in the later half.
What do you say to the people who Because obviously the way the super bosses are kind of tied to each other. Like, what do you say to the people who you get something for playing creation first that then unlocks something in vengeance, and then vice versa? What would you say then to that kind of being locked off one playthrough?
I mean, I guess typical SMT fashion, but I don't know. I guess hard to say.
I will say,
Actually, wait, there was one thing.
as
I do feel like they should have put Masakado in both routes. Like him just being exclusive to the creation route was a bit, yeah.
well, I was gonna say, as someone who really loved the original five, especially with all the different endings it had, I feel like with all the work they put into the canon of vengeance, I almost kind of wish though like I kind of wish they could have added one or two new ones for creation, just because I feel like unless you're someone who's never played it, I think the changes to the world are going to be nice, but unless you're playing that route first, which again, why would you if you've already played vanilla, it's going to make that playthrough of canon of creation just kind of boring by comparison.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Did you find yourself missing the playable human characters?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's good, yeah.
I was thinking along with it too, because another one I'm looking up here, other weird little ones of like I get it, but also I have some weird, not even complaints, but like thoughts about how it was implemented. I think when we first learned about the virtual battle arena, I thought that was a really cool mode. When I realized the way it was implemented, it actually got me less excited about it because I was expecting it to be like a full-on like Chadley simulator of like you're putting on your VR goggles and you're going into a battle arena mode, and if you die, oh well, sucks for you, you got kicked out to the beginning. But like the way that it's handled, have just been like, no, 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 yeah, if you die, you die. Even though lore-wise that makes no sense,
Yeah,
the game just handles it like you're doing a side mission. When like I feel like if it was really like a side mode arena thing, I feel like it shouldn't. I feel like it shouldn't punish you by sending you back and not letting you retry.
that's true. Especially since there's like a harder mode and you can scale them up to like level 300 or something as well.
300.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I saw that, I was just kind of like, I I'm sure this was just easier because then you'd have to design things differently in terms of like getting a death screen or whatnot with it. It just kind of took me out of it just because of that thing of being like, okay, yeah, I get why you're here, but I just don't really like how you were handled. Like a similar thing of I have a love-hate relationship with the Magatsuhi rails of like I love them in terms of convenience. I think in terms of them in the world, they stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like especially like when you complete a map, and I guess I'd have to go back to look at vanilla to see if I felt this way, but like with all the new things that they've added onto the overworld and stuff for it, I feel like once you complete a map, it is so cluttered. Like the amount of icons and shit that they throw on the screen once you finish an area, it is so busy.
Yeah, and I ended up having to just say I disabled a lot of the icons because it's just too much.
Well, yeah, and it's like, and I get it. Like, you're going to want stuff like, okay, where is the Aogami body parts, or where are the like Magatsuhi rails? But then you just get to a thing of being like, here's this demon, here's all these demons, here's all these old side quests, here's all these things for it, and just being like, bro, there is no readability here on
Yeah.
this map at all. Like, unless you're zooming into the area you're at, like if you look at the whole chunk, it just does nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's a tough one though. Of like, with the exception of the new level they added, every world for the most part is still structured the same way. I was kind of actually expecting them to change and maybe add more to the levels as they did, but it was outside of like a couple of random sections that it's like, hey, you take this rail and you can go here. The stages are still very very similar. In terms of how they were designed, I was actually kind of surprised at the whether no matter what path you take of creation or vengeance, of them being basically the same layout all in all.
I honestly expected them to add another, like, a different final area and final dungeon, but like that just didn't happen.
Yeah, and I'm curious as well to get to the new dungeon myself, just because I've heard of a lot of people saying, surprisingly, like I've heard very mixed things of people either loving the new dungeon or hating the new dungeon. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this when we get there, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Um, were there any characters, either new or old, that you enjoyed or had any different opinions on?
I enjoyed Yoko a lot, the new one, the new girl. I thought she was good.
I will say, I wonder if there's something about Yoko that's like, design wise, she has to be one of the most boring characters in the entire cast. But like character wise, she is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like what weird bland school Saint Maria's Magical Girl Academy is like, but yeah, that is very, very, very interesting. Of like the reception to her has been so positive. Like you compare it to like, and I'm mostly meaning like in traditional like Atlas New Girl situations of like Alex from Strange Journey or um, Rin from Catherine Full Body and like other cases with it. Like I think Kasumi's a weird one of like I think the lovers of Kasumi are really really big, but there are just as many haters. You just don't hear them as much compared to how much people really love or hate that character. But really weird addition, not the kind of character I would have expected for it. I'm very interested to like once I finish the story kind of have like a have all the pieces lined up for it because especially early on it's like okay, I see what they're doing with her character, but like the way that the path has actually surprised me the most is not how her character acts, but is actually how she's made other characters change. Like straight up that scene at the end when you're in the school with Tao and Yoko, I'm like, okay, oh, okay, all right. Like I get where we're going. Like it doesn't ever feel like they're betraying the characters or anything with it, but it is just so funny because it's like, oh wow, yeah. So like she just completely changes how the whole cast acts in this game, and not in a way that feels like they're betraying themselves to me. It's just one of those funny things of just being like, yeah, this is just. This is just a very completely different route. This is not the same game we played 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Any other like final thoughts or any other kind of things you either want to say or any kind of like takeaways from playing Vengeance afterwards?
I got one thing. I do kind of wish they added a true ending to Vengeance. I kind of expected there to be one, but there isn't. Like as opposed to the canon creation route.
That is interesting too, because like they still have the true ending
Yeah.
in creation. So yeah, like there's just like the regular kind of the chaos law and neutral endings in Vengeance, isn't there?
There's not even a neutral. It's just chaos and law. Like they don't even.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as Yoko would say, yeah, no half measures. You can't be neutral in the Vengeance route. You're either all in or fuck you. You gotta kill everyone.
I mean, it makes sense story wise, but there isn't a neutral. But I do wish there was a true ending, which required more stuff to do to like unlock it. Whether a branch off either.
No spoilers about who they are for it, but I do know who they are in both routes and stuff. How did you feel about the new super bosses?
I thought they were good. I thought they were fun. Very fun, actually.
And how did you feel about how the game implemented the old and new DLC, if you've checked that out?
I think the new DLC is implemented poorly because I don't even think it should be paid, but like that's just typical Atlas.
Oh, 100%.
Atlas.
By the way, the fact that both of them are like two of the strongest demons in the game and they were the only paid demons is extra scummy.
Just even more scummy if you have you played the DLC yet, or do you mind?
Yes, so I've played hold on, I'm trying to think with it. I've done the Dagda quest.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've gotten to the new one yet. I forget where they unlock her for. But I will say interesting that they didn't just do that thing that like normally I hate in games. Like this is actually a compliment. I like that all the DLC that was in vanilla is baked in and actually rolled out naturally.
Yeah, that's
Because like when you played it before, and if you bought it all, it would just kind of be like, boom, here it is, there you go. Like I kind of like how it like slowly trickles in some of the DLC for you in terms of if you want to do the Demi-Fiend stuff or if you want to do like the Medusa quest or the Mephisto. Like I think they rolled those out a lot more naturally.
There is one thing though, I kind of wish they put the safety baked in there. Well, not that anyone's probably even going to use it, but like
it should not be
yeah.
a separate download. It's completely stupid that they made that a separate download. Like I completely agree with you. There is no one out there who should look at safety being on their screen as an option and be like, oh, gross. I don't even want to look at this as an option. Like, get the fuck over yourself. It's just like it's one of those things that's like it just stops this from being something like there's nothing to unlock, there's nothing to download. It's like it just hides it until you download it there. So it's like, why even make it a separate thing to download?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me like back in the day, like when we would get and like this one I understand because they would take up the data. I was always annoyed when games had the space to fit the data but would make you download the Japanese voice acting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, why? Yeah, why are you doing that? Actually, what voice language did you do for Vengeance? Do you play English or Japanese?
I played in English. I typically do for Atlas games. I think the English dubs are very
Was there
good.
was there any kind of like feedback or anything you had in terms of surprised or possibly like disappointed or enjoyed in terms of the new like story voice acting specifically? Because like my takeaway for it so far, I haven't had a bunch of new story, but what I've been surprised about is like, oh, there's very very few new voice acted segments. Like there are many segments of new story that are just text only.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall it's for the newest stuff later in the game. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it. There's nothing like bad. I mean, most Atlas dubs are enjoyable throughout the whole game anyway. So, yeah.
Listen, I was excited at the chance that this maybe meant that the world might finally change their mind on Kansu and Miyazu's side quest. They probably won't, but you know what? I'm going to lie to myself and hope that they will. So, I think that's just about it for Vengeance. We're going to wrap up with one very unrelated question, but I saw this on your trophy list and I was going to ask, any thoughts on what we saw for Ys 10 finally getting announced for Western release this year?
I think it's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, for Falcom games, in my opinion, it's like, I don't know. I feel like they take way too long that I just end up playing the Japanese version.
I mean, it used to be worse.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It used to be way worse.
I mean, it's good that people are. I mean, it's good that they're catching up. I mean, like with Kuro 2 coming out early next year, by late 2025, it'll probably be caught up. So, yeah.
I'm genuinely curious if well, it's like going back to Ys 10. I love that it has a release date. I hate that it's coming out in October.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like a week or two after Metaphor.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I mean I know they're very very different games and stuff with it, but like I feel like especially after, I feel like Ys 9 completely came and went. I feel like nobody played that game who wasn't already a fan. So it's like one of those things I'm just kind of like, I always wish more people kind of cared about it. Of like, I feel like the series hasn't really had its chance to like shine or have like a pop since Ys 8.
Yeah.
I feel like 8 was like the last moment where people were like, "Oh shit, man, you hear about this Ys game?" See, now I gotta look this up. I'm like trying to see. So Ys 10 is coming out,
I think it was 11th.
October 25th.
Oh, okay.
And Metaphor is the 11th.
Oh yeah.
So little bit of time. Although I think that comes out like the same day as Sonic Shadow Generations. Although I doubt that'll have that much of a crossover.
Yeah.
Shout out also to, fuck, I forget. Is it Ys 4? What's the other Ys game that's getting a remake this year?
Was it 3? I think it's the Memories of Falgata or whatever it was called.
Oath of Falgana.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oath of Falgana. When are you coming out? Because apparently Anime Expo just wanted to be oops all Falcom news this year.
And Xseed's
Came
doing
out
that
in
one.
May in Asia. Yes. Well, they gotta hold on to all of their they gotta hold on to all their Falcom translations while they can. I feel like the fact that I don't know if it's baked into the contract, I still can't believe Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 are not on Switch.
Yeah.
That like blows my mind. I'm like, you guys would make so much money from that.
Also the Sky trilogy. Yeah. It's tight.
That is a weird one of like I mean like I have those all in like on my Vita and stuff, so like I don't even mind like playing that, but like the fact that like damn, I guess that is the reason why NIS can't like port it to other stuff is like they would have to have Falcom put it on new hardware, but they probably don't want to use the old localization that's on PC and stuff, is it?
Yeah. I think Kondo mentioned in an interview that they are working on doing a remake at some point for it, so yeah.
Should I remind them that there are 3 perfect remakes of the Tits games on Vita that everyone forgets exists? I mean, like those weren't like bad ports, right? Like, is it like outside of the fact that no one's localized them? Is there anything like why they wouldn't have released those games from the Vita version to other systems?
I'm not sure. No, they're good. I mean, even the fan translation's good. So, like, I mean, I don't know why, to be honest.
I don't know. I'm a simple man. I'm just waiting for Tokyo Xanadu 2, as anyone else should. A proper game for proper gentlemen.
Apparently that one's been
but
set in Kyoto as well, so look forward to that.
I will believe that game is real when it is playable in my hands and I'm feeling it. Otherwise, I don't know. Like I feel like if I get excited about it, like happening, because it was like a similar thing with like I feel a similar way with like Monarch 2. I know Monarch 2 is happening. I just don't believe it until I see it because like especially with like the way games are now, like I feel like if I just get excited, it's not going to come. Like the last game I was excited and thought was a slam dunk, of course it has to come out here. I bet is a game that no one listening to this podcast has fucking ever heard of. Is like the last time I was like, oh, of course this game has to come out was Utawari Ramono Zan 2. I was like, yeah, why would this not come out? NIS released every other fucking game in this series. Why wouldn't they release this? Oh, no? Okay.
We even got Monochrome Mobius in English before that.
That blew my mind. I can't... Like, the hack and slash button, like, they don't have to localize it. Like, literally, they could just put the Japanese version on a disc with an ESRB logo at this point and I would still fucking pick it up. Like, they don't have to do anything. Like, they don't need to translate it. Just fucking put a new trophy list on it and just fart it out. Just please let me buy Zon 2. It's like, it's just so weird. It's the only game in that series that didn't get an English release. But enough said. We've got to get the heck out of here. It's been a rip-roaring 90-ish minutes. It's almost like I called it.
Yeah.
Almost like I called it. But, Lucky Slime, thank you for coming on and doing the impossible. I told myself before this happened, I told my wife, I said, honey, if I don't talk about K-pop with this guy for at least 20 minutes, I think I've failed as a host of this podcast. So, like, I'm impressed that we have not talked about K-pop once until the ending of this show.
Yeah.
See, because what most people didn't know, like, I don't know, like, how much do you think, like, your followers online are aware of you and all of your biases?
I mean, they probably are, but they probably don't care because I feel like video game players don't give a shit about K-pop.
That's what I always like. I always think about that, but then like if I just tweeted out like anything mildly K-pop related, like there's always one or two people who are like, "Oh my god." Random guy who hosts the SMTN podcast, you like K-pop too? He's like, you better fucking believe it, bucko. Like, it was always really, really funny because I forget if I've ever like told you this story or like said on the show, but like when I met my wife and we were talking about music, she was like, yeah, like I mean I like K-pop and stuff like that, but like most people don't really like it. Like the only K-pop that was really big at the time, because this would have been 2017, was like. And this was, like, right before BTS got really, really popular, was, like, you'd maybe hear people talk about, like, fuck, man, I can't even think. Like especially where we lived in the Midwest, it was like you'd be lucky if someone remembered Gangnam Style over here. Like that's how bad it was. And so for me to be like, no, 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 I like actually like grew up listening to like whether it be. Well, like what was funny for her was I listened to pretty much nothing but like at least for K-pop, for whatever reason, I listened to very, very few like Japanese, sorry, very few female groups. A lot of like the female groups I listened to was mostly like J-pop artists and stuff. And I had a lot more experience with like I would just see stuff growing up in like high school. It must have just been like was like what friends and stuff listened to, but I don't think I heard any like girl Korean groups until like Kira and like stuff like that in like 2012 or later.
Yeah, like Kara, Girls' Generation, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I missed a whole like I missed so much of those until like growing up. I remember like her like showing me like some like Mamamoo and stuff, being like, "Did you ever hear any of these?" I was like, "Nothing." Like none of it. I missed all of it. It was so wild. Well, to end the show, instead of recommending any video games, I was gonna say someone listening to this, whether they have an idea or have never even heard of K-pop, J-pop, whatever, what is either one album or one song or one group you would recommend to any person that needs more love and attention? What's a group or song you want to give a shout out to?
Listen to Eyes One, and the album blew my eyes. Every single song on that album.
And any particular reason? Just all them bangers.
All of them bangers.
Really good. Like what's the reason for?
No skip discography on that group. Every song is a banger.
Now, I know probably because where you live, you probably like don't get as much for it. Like, do groups like ever tour over where you live?
Not really. Well, okay. Well, I'm going to see IVE in like July, but for the most part, not really. I think we've had Blackpink and we've had BTS, but that's like all pretty much. So yeah, not really.
Who would you travel to if they were within even like half a country distance of if they came?
Or Seraphim.
I'm always surprised that they don't really tour. Like they don't do as much international touring as I thought, which is always kind of interesting. Do you ever do any of the like go to a movie theater and like watch the live streamed tours at all, or would you rather just like do those from home?
Not really. Nah, I'll just watch it on like the website, the paid live stream where you got to pay $80 to watch a live stream.
Oh my god, dude! Those listen, I'll go to the movie theater and pay like $80 in tickets for 4 people. The like $80 live stream racket, I can't lie to myself and do it. Like, I think the fact that I'm like, bro, I know that I could just restream this illegally somewhere else just like keeps me from being like, I can't justify, because like even the Atlas like music concerts when they had the paid restreams, I was like, I can't justify this. This holds like no value to me. Like I know someone out there has a copy of this that I could just watch for cheap.
I totally didn't restream that Atlas Persona Super Live. That totally wasn't me.
Well, we'll have the link to Lucky Slime's restream as well below underneath the Vengeance Guide. I'm sure that won't be a conflict of interest to anybody. But Slime, thank you for coming on. Thank you for chatting with me, and I hope to God you get some sleep and finally fucking wake up today.
No problem. Yeah, I'll probably go to sleep again straight after this.
Well, everybody listening, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking a little bit more, probably metaphor stuff, if not some more Vengeance or other things with it. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun news and other things to talk about. But thank you all for watching. Don't forget also to follow the show. Obviously, you can check us out on patreon.com/SMTN, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook page, Discord, all that fun stuff. Slime, where do you want people to find you? Like, obviously, there's your Twitter, and then there's all your guides and stuff on PowerPix, but like, where do you want to be found?
I guess Twitter. They can watch me ramble about stuff.
What's the latest hot take that you've been posting on Twitter?
Not really too many. K-pop retweet spam, I guess that's about it.
When do you think you'll finally like drop your mild passion love for writing guides, and like when can we get into the like Lucky Slime fan cam edits? Like when can that happen?
Oh, maybe someday. Not anytime soon though.
Have you ever dabbled? Have you ever even like unironically made a fan cam? This is a safe spot. You can admit
I
this.
actually haven't. No, that's too much effort.
You know, I used to say the same thing. I've done a couple of definitely ironic fan cams. I've done like I think I've done at least two for SMT5. I did one for Dazai and I did one for Nahabito. Because I'm a sick twisted. No, damn it, I've done more than I thought. This is embarrassing. I did one for Zenkichi too. I did one for Strikers.
That's valid. Zenkichi's the goat.
Man, I'll tell you right now, on the record, if they ever add Zenkichi to P5X, I will fucking fly to China to download
Yeah.
that game. I don't give a shit. I will fucking hard lock into P5X if they add Zenkichi. I will lose my fucking mind. Well, speaking of people who've lost their minds, big shout outs to all of the $5 and up Patreon supporters. I mean, also just shout out to all the listeners in general, but if you enjoy supporting the show, don't forget you can support us on patreon.com/SMTN. The $5 and up tier, people always get a shout out as they are the executive producers. So super big shout out to Michael Wilson, Bell Chill, Cosmic Illumi, Budweiser Tall Cans, Carlos Hernandez, Cross Renren, Wenny, Jagingas, Gorosero, Solaire, Mirth Mouser, Stephen Yip, and Patrick Dissard. Thank you all so much. I'm going to get to editing this so all of you lovely patrons can listen to this one early, and then this should probably be up on the free feeds. Let's say like Monday or Tuesday. I don't want to like rush it out too fast for the free feeds because the last episode wasn't too long ago, but it'll definitely be before the new dungeon in P5X. That's my new timeline for things. So Slime, thank you for staying awake this long. Thank you for listening to my awful ramblings and bad takes on not playing gacha games more, but I will let you get back to sleep and probably playing Zenless Zone Zero some more.
Yeah, no problem. It was good. It's good talking.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.